Friday, guys. This is Nathaniel Halak. Welcome to my first video on my new YouTube channel called Twist of Nate. Now, for starters, Twist of Nate was a recommendation from a very good friend of mine, and with her approval, I used the name. I'd actually asked her to come up with some ideas, and that, in my opinion, was amazing. So I'm like, I'm gonna use it, and she's like, absolutely. And here we are today, Twist of Nate. For starters, my favorite drink. This is how I get inspired. I love bourbon, whiskey, scotch. This is Angel's Envy. As you can see, beautiful color, aroma is just amazing. I normally drink them straight. I don't like water or ice. I think this is perfect, and it allows everything to bloom. And as you can see, my setting is very neutral. I'm allowing this to be an exchange between, authors and writers and other authors and writers. So the purpose of this video is for me to share with you guys how I came about writing my novel, and how I created my characters. I'll give you a very high level, introduction today, and the following videos I can drill down into a little bit more details in terms of characters and plot and twist and specificities. So I'm the author of Kill Love, thriller erotica book or novel. It hasn't been published yet. I had to make some last minute modifications because this is how I function. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I'm having a hard time letting go and saying, fine, let's just publish. I'm planning to use the platform of Amazon Kindle to publish my book. However, if you go to Wattpad today, and I will have the link in the description, it's a platform like Goodreads. I've uploaded, I believe, 5 or 6 chapters. It gives you a good idea of what the book is all about. The chapters are not in order whatsoever, but it gives you, an idea about some action thriller chapters, and some are really hot and steamy chapters. Please go ahead, give it a read, put in your feedbacks if you want. I would love that. And then the more feedback I get, the better it is. So the book started with short stories. I had about 5 or 6, kinky sexual short stories, and they were not knit in any way, shape, or form. They had nothing in common. Nothing was linking them. Not even the characters. It was just two individuals having kinky sex in various environments. And about 4 or 5 months later, what I decided to do is knit everything together, combine everything together into one story. But how did I go about doing that? Well, since they had nothing in common, I decided to create a character first. So I'm like, okay, so I have my character. My character is Luke. So Major Luke Copper, an ex-Navy SEAL operator, works for the CIA covertly, or for a covert, group called SOAR, Special Operation and Reconnaissance. And he goes on missions around the world. He has specific missions, and then during the missions, or sometimes before or after, he meets these amazing women, and he has amazing adventures with them, and each one brings him a value add, brings him something, and he's looking for specific things into each one of them, and I believe meeting each one of them feeds some sort of specific hunger he has, specific kink he has, until he falls in love with one. And I think he needs to fall in love with one. So I created that character, Luke Copper, and I'm like, well, what is Luke's function? What does he do? Where does he work? And I started creating characters around him. So characters that would be working with him, would allow him to go to missions. Characters he would meet in other countries. Once I've had that established, and I've had the character personality, and I did a lot of research into this as well, because obviously he's doing a job that is very hard, and there's a lot of information about that job out there on the internet. So I did a lot of research about U.S. Navy SEALs, their training, the kind of missions they go to, so on and so forth, and I build the box around my character. Once this was done, I'm like, well, what are the secondary characters that will help him move from point A to point B, from country 1 to country 2, conduct his mission, so on and so forth. And then the women were, in all honesty, inspired by some of the women I met in my life. So some women I just met briefly for 5 minutes, but their perfume, their behavior, their persona, um, like it matched something. It lit something in my head, and I'm like, I kept that. I kept that smell. I kept that aroma. I kept that image, those curves, this dress, the way that person talked. Um, and I combine this into different characters. So obviously the story is fictional, the characters are fictional. Um, so Luke meets these women, but it's not enough for him because he's going through a lot with his work. His work has burnt him down. He's very tired. He hasn't rested, um, and he's unleashing his depression. He's unleashing his um, not anger, his you know uh, animal instinct, because that's all he knows with other women and during the intercourse. And obviously, these women he's meeting are enjoying this, um, until he falls in love with one. So the I want to say the female main character of the book, um, and the woman he falls in love with brings him peace. She shuts down his demons basically, and he loves this. He's interested in getting to know her a little bit better. He's interested in becoming vulnerable, and I think this is the main point I want readers to take, is that my main character looks very tough, sounds tough, does very crazy things, but he's very vulnerable. And I want to mention that this could be the case of everybody today, right? That vulnerability that today is very important. So he feels very vulnerable because she's able to reach inside of him. She's able to reach and read through his soul, and he's afraid of that. So there's in the book you'll notice that there's a back and forth between him letting go, him falling in love deeper, listening to his feelings, and at the same time taking a step back and saying like, whoa, this is too much. I'd rather have a one night stand and not think about that particular individual. So there's a back and forth which keeps the reader on their toes, right? Because I want the reader to like, well, what's going to happen? Is he really gonna completely fall in love? Is he gonna ask her out for marriage? Is he gonna propose? And I'm like, well, okay, so if I only do this, then the book is very ordinary. And like I said in my intro, I believe in uncharted territory. So for me, it's like, no, that I don't like the normal. I like the illogic. I like the surprise factor. I've introduced the plot, and I'm like, well, that'll be interesting. Add more spice into the story. The plot is there. And I'm like, well, the plot is not enough. We need to have a twist. We need to have something that happens that will, capture the interest of the readers at the end. And I left it open for a sequel. So the interesting thing about the book is that there's volume 2 and volume 3. So the way I see volume 2 and 3, which I haven't started yet, they're, in my head still, mulching in my head. Volume 2 will be Luke's discovering a lot of kink. And then volume 3 would be from a woman's perspective. And I can already see people saying, oh, wait a second, that's going to be very difficult, very different. Yes, because volume 1, Kill Love, is from a male's perspective. And you can clearly see this as you read the book, because it's Luke that's talking about what has happened to him. The third volume is from a woman's perspective. So it's a woman that will be living that. And I will not dig further into this. So that's going to be the hardest part. I will need a lot of inspiration and a lot of talking and chatting with a lot of women into how do they feel? How does that feel? What do they do in that case or in this case? It's basically research, and which is going to be amazing research in my opinion. So that's how I reorganized everything. Now, from a character's perspective, I needed to keep the dates, the areas where they lived, where they were born, up to date. So I kept a sheet or a spreadsheet with everybody's name and characteristics and persona and coordinates and stuff like that. So during the book, or while I was writing the book, I had to go back to this if I need, if Luke was saying, well, I've had 15 years as a Navy SEAL operator. Well, if I said 15 years in the middle of the book, it has to say 15 years throughout the book. I wanted the readers to read this and say, well, this is fluid. This makes total sense. It's not bullshit. And the other thing is that I wanted to write something that will take the reader from point A to point B and capture that interest. I wanted the reader to be interested not only in the characters, but in the story, in the way the story is evolving, in the way his emotions are evolving, in the way he's discovering his emotions, he's in touch with his emotions, in the ways he's opening up, becoming more vulnerable. And at the same time, the thriller action-packed chapters are pretty hardcore. And so they're very interesting. It's like watching a movie. And the hot scenes, well, they're fucking hot. they're really hot. And that's the purpose. The purpose is for someone to read this and like, wait a second, this is really interesting. I like that. So like I said, it's for a specific demographic. It's for a specific genre. I don't expect everybody to read erotica. It's specific people who like erotica. So yeah, that's a very early stage introduction to my book, and how I came about writing it and what inspired me. Now, I'm hoping to make a second video in which I'll be talking about what inspired you. So if you're a new author, a new writer, and you want to share what inspired you, how do you write your book? Is it on a piece of paper, in a book, on a laptop, on a computer, in your bedroom, on the living room, in the garden, having a drink or a coffee, wearing your PJs? I'll be curious to hear this, and I think that exchange between writers and authors is very positive. I don't think there's enough of this out there. And like, I'll give you an example. I've registered, when I first started, with Facebook groups, various Facebook groups, for authors, for new authors, so on and so forth. What I disliked about this is they have so many rules, where you can only post on specific days and specific times, and if you do otherwise, you'll get warnings and you get kicked out. Well, wait a second. We're all writers. We are all creators. We are all artists. We think outside the box. We don't comply to rules. We do things our own way. We create characters. We build characters. We play with the characters, and we have control to either make that character a hero or fuck him, just kill him or torture him, right? So we are gods in our own little world. We expect no rules. We expect out of the box thinking. So that's why I intended to create this type of channel, so that at least there's that exchange between authors and writers. And then, yeah, so whatever you gotta post in the comments, I would love to go through whatever you guys are posting, your comments, your questions, and hopefully there will be enough content for me to make a second video. So don't forget to check the Wattpad link that will be in my description. As well, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like it. I will have the links to Instagram as well. And I've created also a TikTok channel, but I mean, TikTok is TikTok. I really don't care about that. For me, this is what's important, is that communication, that back and forth idea sharing with similar authors and writers. So if you're writing a book today, if you're a new author, my hat goes off to you. It's a lot of work. It's hard work. It takes a lot of imagination. But like I said, we're creators. We are little gods in our own little world. We create people. We destroy people. We create little worlds. We merge worlds, and then we destroy worlds. And the funny thing is that we create worlds in every dimension: fantasy, erotica, thriller, romance, so on and so forth. So yeah, I don't believe in the box thinking. So anyways, subscribe, like, check the Wattpad link. This is Nathaniel Halak. The channel's name is Twist of Nate. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And hopefully I'll see you again on video number 2. And again, please give me your comments if I'm amateurish in the way I talk. This is my first video on the YouTube version. So I probably don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm there and I'm sharing my experience with you guys. So best of luck, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye.